Did you watch last night's debate between Marco Rubio and his Democratic challenger Patrick Murphy? Hey, they actually debated substance, only one allegation of groping. Michael Lepardi has the story.
Senator Marco Rubio and Congressman Patrick Murphy shook hands at the beginning of the first debate at the University of Central Florida. But soon after, the gloves came off. The two candidates found themselves talking about their party's nominee for president.
And I don't understand how Senator Rubio can look himself in the mirror and still stand by Donald Trump's side after everything that's come out about him.
Rubio accuses Murphy's family business of benefiting from Trump while taking aim at Hillary Clinton.
When she's been caught doing all these things, he has not once condemned her, not once pointed finger at her, has not once broken with her on any of her behaviors, or quite frankly on any of her major policies.
There were fireworks outside too, as supporters from both sides stood face to face. At the doors to the debate, we captured this scuffle as Bruce Nathan, a no-party candidate, tried to enter the building without a ticket. But most of the action was on the stage, particularly over gun control in connection with the attack at Pulse.
But you think about my opponent, Marco Rubio, who's taken millions and millions of dollars from the gun lobby, who's doing their bidding in the U.S. Senate. And that's shameful.
Congressman, my law was not written by the NRA. It was written by my staffers. In fact, the NRA hasn't even come out in support of the law that I've written.
All right, we're going to go right into our roundtable. Our guests tonight are Kevin Griffith, the vice chair of the Sarasota County Democratic Party, Christian Ziegler, state committee man for the Republican Party of Florida, and William March, a veteran politics reporter here in Florida. I know what you guys are going to say in terms of who won, who lost. So, Wendy, I'm going to turn to you, the non-partisan political reporter.
Okay, that'll guarantee you a nice evasive answer. I don't think there was a clear knock it out of the park winner. I think Patrick Murphy probably gained more, but the question is, did he gain as much as he needed? He had a bigger job to get done. Did he get it done? And that's very much an open question.
Well, the interesting question there is, on one hand, Murphy himself said today or yesterday that only 51% of likely voters in Florida even know who he is. And on top of that, the Quinnipiac poll comes out today showing that that race is within 2 points, which is really quite interesting. So, you know, Kevin, I'll start with you. I'm sure you're happy with how the congressman did last night.
I am. You know, the one thing that stuck out to me was that he looked senatorial. He looked like a statesman, and he carried himself well. Marco Rubio, we all know, has debated for presidency, has run before, and I think Patrick Murphy had a high bar, and he hit it. And so I think and Democrats and independents around the state have something to look forward to.
But it's because Rubio has debated so much in the last 12 months. You know, politics aside, he was pretty sharp and pretty quick with the wit when he needed to be, Christian.
Yeah, he was, but he actually brought substance to the debate. I mean, when you look at Patrick, no, they actually didn't. I mean, when you look at it, Patrick Murphy, from the very beginning until the end, he was like an attack dog, right? He was just trying to attack. And from my perspective, being involved so much, when a candidate's like that, they know they're in trouble in the polls, and that's their only action. So, you know, you had Patrick Murphy attacking Marco Rubio, and then you had Marco Rubio actually firing back and really backing up his record and listing his record of accomplishments versus Patrick Murphy, who has zero record of accomplishments in Congress. So I think walking away from that debate, it's pretty clear. I mean, you look at both guys on paper, one has accomplishments, the other one doesn't. And I think everyone watching it, I mean, if you look at all the, I think Washington Post, the Miami Herald, they all came out and said Rubio pretty handily won that debate.
Well, there were some interesting comments which we're going to get into in a couple of minutes. I believe Joe Henderson actually wrote a column today saying it was checkmate because once Rubio said that he is going to serve his full 6 years, that took a line of attack away from Murphy. But we are going to get to all of that coming up, and we're just going to get going with this conversation. More from our roundtable when we come back. Welcome back to our analysis of last night's debate between Marco Rubio and Patrick Murphy, and it continues now with our roundtable. I guess if there were any headlines last night was Marco Rubio's promise that if he is reelected to a second term, that he will serve all 6 years, which seemingly would say that he is not going to run for president should Donald Trump lose this presidential race. Let's take a look.
Will you join me tonight in signing a 6-year pledge that you are committed to serving this job and not going to seek higher office?
I'm going to serve 6 years in the United States Senate, God willing, and I'm looking forward to it.
Are you promising to fill all 6 years of your term?
I'm going to be a senator for the next 6 years on behalf of the state of Florida. You can't be a senator and president at the same time. So I am running for the United States Senate. I'm going to serve 6 years, God willing.
A couple of things there. Number one, the laughter in the room when he said it, which was pretty interesting. And the question becomes, does anybody believe that, Wendy?
Well, the laughter came from Democrats who don't, I assume. This is Marco Rubio trying to knock down probably Patrick Murphy's second biggest argument against him, first biggest being that he's allied with Trump. Second biggest is Murphy's argument that Rubio is running for this office only so he'll have a high-profile job while he sets up for 2020. Now, you heard the moderators, obviously taken by surprise by this, trying to pin Rubio down. Will you rule out running for president in 2020? There was maybe just the tiniest hint of evasiveness in his answer. God willing, what does that mean?
Well, I mean, two things. He did say several times he will serve 6 years as senator, but I don't know if I've ever heard somebody hedge an answer with God willing before.
Yeah, but when you look at this, I mean, everyone's talking 2020. Is he going to run? Is he taking himself out of the race for 2020? Look, Donald Trump's going to win. I mean, this is, when you look at the press and they're shocked that Rubio's not going to run for 2020 or in 2020, I think it's pretty clear that the press is now looking past November and making the assumption that Donald Trump's not going to win. Because if Donald Trump wins, then there's no question about 2020. So I don't know why we're sitting back talking about 2020, especially members of the press, when they're shocked when they're asking that question and getting an answer when we haven't even gotten to November yet. So, you know, I think Rubio was pretty clear in his comments, and, you know, you have to accept it for what he says.
Kevin?
And I think the shock is going to be if we can believe a politician who might change his mind in 4 years. I think the irony with Marco Rubio is that he's spent most of his career running against politicians, but now he's been there sort of long enough that he's the politician. And the irony in this race is that he's used to being the young person in the room, and now Congressman Murphy is the young person in the room.
You know, Christian, hold on one second, because it is a legitimate question to ask. You know, in a best case scenario, you know, Trump would have a 50-50 chance to win this race, and most, not most, all national polls at this point show him losing by 4 to 11 points. So it is a legitimate question to ask Marco Rubio, would you, if you win this office, stay for the complete 6 years?
Yeah, I think the more legitimate question, because Rubio was pretty clear in his response there, I think the question that everyone should be asking, especially after that debate, is why would we want Patrick Murphy in the Senate? He has zero accomplishments. He's accomplished zero.
We're going to talk about that in the next segment.
Well, that's what the question should be. I mean, this whole, are you going to run in 2020? Rubio's been clear. I think he's counting on a Donald Trump win as well. And we're just kind of looking past this November, and it's somewhat disappointing.
And where are Senator Rubio's accomplishments? I mean, he's been in a Senate that's...
We're going to get to all of that in the next block. But the history here is that Rubio did say emphatically he was not going to run for re-election in the first place.
He was even more clear on that. He said the problems of the country cannot be solved by senators and congressmen. He said he did not like the job of being in the Senate. He said he absolutely would be a private citizen as of January 2017.
Right. And Kevin, I just want to get to the flip side of this, that if by Rubio saying he will serve 6 years if reelected, that does take out a major line of attack from Patrick Murphy.
Well, I think the broader question is, do you believe Marco Rubio? And based upon his stances up to this point, where first he said he wasn't going to run, now he's in the race, can you believe him? And I think most of the people listening last night can see that there was at least some hedge there.
I remember Hillary Clinton saying she wasn't going to run for president as well.
Okay.
So
we'll have to take a quick break there, but when we come back, we'll have a check on our weather, and stay tuned for much more of this panel. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing the first televised debate between U.S. Senator Marco Rubio and Patrick Murphy. Our guests tonight include Kevin Griffith, the vice chair of the Sarasota County Democratic Party, Christian Ziegler, state committee man for the Republican Party of Florida, and William March, a veteran political reporter here in Florida. When we pick up the debate, another, you know, we showed Senator Rubio's vulnerability on the 6-year issue. Let's talk a little bit about Patrick Murphy. And the knock against him has been that he has not been in office very long. And before he was in office, he really didn't do a lot in the business world. Let's take a look at that.
You've described yourself as a small business owner, but your company is a subsidiary of a billion-dollar construction firm founded by your father. You call yourself a certified public accountant, but you have not been a CPA in the state of Florida. And for more than a year, your website said that you had 2 degrees from the University of Miami when in fact you only had 1. So my question is, have you misled Floridians about your experience and your qualifications?
I'm happy to put my resume up as a CPA and a small business owner up against Marco Rubio, a career politician and lobbyist.
Why does someone make things up about their record? Because they don't have a real one to talk about.
Kevin, that has been a real area where Congressman Murphy has been banged around for the last couple of months, and obviously it resonated in this debate last night.
Well, I think independent fact checkers, as he mentioned last night, had labeled that claim mostly false. The issue is he's a CPA. He was a CPA, I believe, in Colorado.
But not in Florida.
And he worked for Deloitte & Touche. I worked for Deloitte & Touche. I understand what they do. What they do is they send you out to whoever their clients are, where you might do independent auditing, you might do performance auditing. The point is he has the credential of the CPA. He's an accountant. Numbers in Colorado and numbers in Florida aren't different.
But there were other things. There were the issue involving, for some point, his website said that he had 2 degrees from the University of Miami, where he only had 1, and that small business that he ran was set up by his very successful dad and really didn't do much business.
Well, I mean, like he said, his father lived the American dream, and yeah, he was honest with it. He said, I started work digging ditches for my dad. There was a company. He did work for him. I mean, it's not a fabrication. It's him telling what happened. And by the way, he has a finance and accounting credential from the university. I guess on his website he may have said he had a degree in both. But the point is he has those skill sets. He's running to be senator, so I think he's got the leadership qualifications and the background, aside from Marco Rubio, who is a career politician.
Well, that was my question to you, Christian, because obviously in the atmosphere that we are living in today, people are down on career politicians, and they look at Marco Rubio, and I don't even know if he's had a job outside elective office ever.
Yeah, no, he has, and he's served, he's taught, outside of elected office, what you're asking about. But when you look at Patrick Murphy, I mean, here you have a guy that's lying. He starts off lying about the degrees that he has. Then he lies about his career. Then when he gets in Congress, he does nothing in Congress while he served. And I think there's a big difference between him and then you look at Marco Rubio and the accomplishments he's had when it comes to the VA, and you have the failed VA where, they're failing veterans, and he's able to pass legislation that allows you to get rid of executives or officials at the VA that are underperforming. And, he has a pretty good record in the Senate when you look at it. And I think voters are going to judge both candidates, and it's pretty clear. You have Patrick Murphy, who has 0 experience and 0 accomplishments, versus Marco Rubio that's actually accomplished stuff.
Despite all that, according to a new poll that came out just today, it shows that this race is in a statistical dead heat. The poll, 49% of Floridians said they were backing Rubio, 47% who are picking Murphy. Murphy himself said that his name recognition is only 51% in the state of Florida.
Yeah, but obviously when you look at the Democratic Party, it looks like they're pulling the resources out of the state of Florida. I think
that was my next question.
Yeah, and I think that, and we'll go to that.
You could ask the question, why is it so close then?
Why is the race so close? Well, that's just one poll. I mean, I think everyone looking at the state of Florida is pretty confident that Marco Rubio is going to win pretty big in Florida. So I don't think anyone's really has any doubt when it comes to the U.S. Senate race who's going to win that race. And I think Patrick Murphy just brings nothing to the table, and that's probably why the Democratic Party is deserting him.
That race is about 2 people. It's about Donald Trump, and it's about Marco Rubio.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Florida voters across Florida are a lot more intelligent than that. They're going to look at each race and they're going to judge who they're going to vote for. When you look at the Senate race, it is about 2 people. It's about Marco Rubio and it's about Patrick Murphy, who brings nothing to the table.
And they know Marco Rubio. He's been here a long time, and it's a 2%.
And they don't know anything that Patrick Murphy has accomplished. So I think that's what voters are going to take into consideration.
Hold on, because there's been a question that I've been dying to ask Wendy all day long. If you have a poll that just came out showing this race is within the margin of error, why did the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee today pull all its money for Murphy out of Florida today?
Well, I guess first thing, Alan, is they made that decision slightly before this new Quinnipiac poll came out. It's a good quality poll, but it's not exactly the best possible news for Patrick Murphy. because the reason that he's now within 2 points is undecided voters have been moving to him. Well, there's not that many undecided voters left that could move to him, so closing that final 2 points will be difficult. But the decision, and this is the kind of decision that political parties make all the time.
It's cold and it's very calculated.
It is. They have very limited money. They want to spend it where it will buy them what they need. They don't want to waste it on somebody who's obviously a winner or on somebody who can't win. Now, when they look at Florida, what they see is an extremely expensive state to run a campaign in. Far more expensive than most. It's got 13, maybe 14 media markets. Millions of dollars a week to run a campaign here. All the Democrats want is to get to 50 senators. They can spend only a fraction of that money and have the same impact in another close race like New Hampshire, North Carolina. And there they can win a senator by spending a whole lot less money than what it takes in Florida.
The television markets there are smaller and it costs less money to advertise.
Exactly.
All right, let's get to one other area. And there were so many, look, I'll give both candidates a lot of credit. For the most part, this debate was really substantive. But let's talk about abortion, which is always an issue, but more so now because it is combined with the Zika issue. Let's take a look at what they had to say about that.
Senator Rubio, you had told me earlier in the year that you opposed abortion for women who were infected with Zika, even if it meant that they would give birth to seriously deformed children.
I believe that all human life is worthy of the protection of our laws, and I respect people that have reached a different conclusion on this issue.
My opponent does not support a woman's right to choose in the case of rape, in the case of incest, or a mother infected with Zika.
No doubt about it. This is a tough issue to argue, but especially down in Broward and Miami-Dade County, where the Zika outbreak has been the largest. I would imagine that's a tough sell for Senator Rubio.
The tough sell on life? I think Marco Rubio, I think when you look at his career, this has been one of his defining issues, and this has been one of the issues that he's been most strong on. And some people may disagree with it, but he made it pretty clear. I mean, he's a pro-life guy all the way till the end. He believes in pro-life causes. He believes in life. And no matter what the issue is or what could cause it, it's about life. And Rubio stands strong with life. And me personally, I'm with Marco Rubio on that issue 100%. And I think that he's got probably the best pro-life position out of any Republican candidate out there.
It's probably the most extreme position you could have on that issue. And I think that's... It came towards the end of the debate, but I think it was Patrick Murphy's strongest issue and his strongest performance of the night.
And hold on, I can't let that go. I mean, extreme, I think extreme is looking at disabilities and aborting individuals just because they have a disability. I personally think that is a very extreme position. And, Marco Rubio, kudos for him. He sticks up for life, and he even said it there. Doesn't matter if it's popular or not. I firmly believe in the pro-life cause, and that's the position he's taken.
Wendy, is there any indication how this issue plays given the Zika outbreak here across Florida at this stage?
Well, the Zika outbreak has sort of hurt some politicians' abilities to take this strong a pro-life position. He's right, Marco Rubio has taken a very strong pro-life position from day one, and including on Zika. The argument in the debate was that Patrick Murphy ran an ad about Rubio's stance on Zika and abortion, a Spanish language ad. Rubio then responded with another Spanish language ad claiming that Murphy was distorting his position. Well, he wasn't. That was his position, unless he's changed it since he told Mark Caputo he was opposed to abortions for Zika-infected women. Now, if you look at polling, statewide polling, the majority of the populace is not as strongly pro-life, is not as strongly opposed to abortion rights as Marco Rubio. But as you pointed out, he doesn't care about that. He'll take that position. It's obviously a position he believes in strongly.
We have less than a minute left.
Yeah, which I think is refreshing. I mean, you look at a candidate and it's not necessarily taking a position on an issue just because of what the public thinks or where the polls happen to be that day. I mean, this is a defining issue for him. It's a defining principle, and he's been pretty strong, and he always will be, I believe.
Kevin, last word.
On women's health, whether it's the Affordable Care Act or his position on abortion, Marco Rubio is not with the people of Florida.
Okay. A reminder to our viewers, you can watch last night's debate in full on our website, mysuncoast.com, or one of our over-the-top platforms, Apple TV, Amazon, Fire, and Roku. Let's take a break, but when we come back, we'll have final thoughts from our panel as well as comments from our viewers. Welcome back. Who came out ahead in last night's debate between Marco Rubio and Patrick Murphy? Will last night's debate make a difference in November? Our guests join us now for final thoughts. Here's the big question, Wendy, is what impact will the presidential race have on the U.S. Senate race? Is what, I mean, what, if anything, or is this really kind of, separate?
Well, the answer is yes and no. It is separate, at least to some extent, which is that Marco Rubio has been running 5, 6, actually more like, I guess about 8 points better than Donald Trump in all polling. For example, right now, if Rubio is up 2 points, Clinton is up 3.6 points, and that means there's a 5.5 point swing between the two of them. In the past, there was a greater swing. It was about an 8-point swing. The Quinnipiac pollsters who did the poll that you talked about said that the reason that Murphy has come closer is because of Trump's decline. I think if Trump goes further down, Rubio has to start worrying.
I can tell you from a volunteer perspective, when you look at both races and how they're connected, I mean, they're really kind of working off of each other, and they have different demographics they attract. And I know Donald Trump's generating a lot of interest and a lot of energy, and all those volunteers that are coming out for Donald Trump are pushing Marco Rubio's message as well. But I think when voters go in the ballot box, they're going to look at each individual race all down the ballot. And I think it's going to stand on its own, but I'm pretty confident Rubio is going to win pretty big when you look at Florida.
Well, Kevin, when I hear all the reporting on the ground game here in Florida, there has still been a lot of talk that the Trump campaign really does not have a huge ground game, but the Democrats are really out there in mining data and so forth.
And that's what we pride ourselves on. I know this weekend, making phone calls and knocking on doors, the machine is in place. I mean, because our volunteers are passionate, and they are passionate about Patrick Murphy as well. And I feel comfortable about Patrick Murphy. It's an open seat. He's running against a sitting senator, and he's 2 points down with a month to go, voting already going. I mean, he's got to be feeling at least pretty good.
But if you look across the state, I mean, we have 70,000 volunteers that have signed up to volunteer for Donald Trump. That's an army right there. Right. And everywhere they're going door to door making phone calls.
We'll have to leave it there. But before we go, we want to share with you some of our comments from viewers last night about the story that we brought you on Friday. The city of Sarasota operates more than 80 surveillance cameras. Nearly half of them are in the community of Newtown. Some say the cameras are targeting the minority community. Others say that the cameras are important for public safety. Here is what some of our viewers are saying. Ian Eldridge writes, have cameras deterred crime? I doubt it. So, of course, the residents of Newtown have a valid grievance with the cameras. Pat Ledwith writes, the Newtown neighborhood asked for the cameras and paid for them with redevelopment tax dollars and even had input on their locations. Suncoast and Black Lives Matter doesn't speak for Newtown. And Chris Minich writes, liberal media loves topics like this. They love creating division. That's what the media does. They feed off of polarizing people. Chris, get a grip. There was a community meeting where police went to it, and it ended suddenly in discord. It is called news. That is spelled N-E-W-S. And if you'd like to join the conversation about tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news7. I want to thank our guests for being here tonight. Kevin Griffith is the vice chair of the Sarasota County Democratic Party. Christian Ziegler is state committee man for the Republican Party of Florida. And William Arch is a veteran politics reporter here in Florida. When we return, we'll speak with our business commentator about how this election could impact the stock market.